Chris, the Military Lending Act is where we're at today. Go ahead and give the people just a refresher. If they didn't see that episode with Josh Griffin, you can go back and find it, like I mentioned, Chris's website or WOKV.com. But just give the people an overview of the Military Lending Act, what it is, and how we're going to get into it over the next half hour or so.
Sure thing, Casey. And just like you said, when someone that's either a military family, service member, spouse, dependent gives me a call, everything that we do is confidential. If we decide to move forward against that corporation, payday lender, whoever it is that's doing this unlawful activity, then what we will do is we enter into that fee agreement. We're not going to notify the military. They're not going to be involved, right? This is going to be between us and whoever this company is that's taking advantage of you. And the Military Lending Act is basically just a consumer protection statute that provides greater consumer protection for our military families. And why does it do that? Importantly, because the Department of Defense has recognized that our military families are not only vulnerable, but the most susceptible to this type of harm for a number of reasons, right? As civilians, you can imagine, we live in the same place, right? I mean, you move to a place, okay, yeah, you may move around town, right? You may move from this place to this place, but you're going to use the same businesses. You're going to know the same people in the same community. You're going to most likely have contacts at different businesses that you can use, right? Credit unions and creditors and things like that. Mm-hmm. Whoever you want to, get loans from or consumer credit. Now imagine if you're a military family, and we've had other guests on this show that talk about that. You're moving to a new place, new state, new base every couple years, and you're relying on these companies that you have no ties to the area. You have no idea what the reputation is. Sure, the military family does their due diligence. They're going to read reviews or do different things. But sometimes if a family is moving to a new state, buying a house, buying a car, buying furniture, they need a private loan to bridge the gap between the time that they're going to get reimbursed for this and the time that they actually have to move, right? And they need that money quick just to be able to provide that. They may not be able to, have the magic ball, right? The genie, if you will, that's going to say, oh yeah, the company that you're working with, complete scam artists. And they actually target military families, right? So it's one of those things like we've got to completely sort of do a 180 degrees here. And if you get ripped off or a company tries to rip you off, let's not just go home and gripe about it in the confines of our own home. Let's do something about it and spread the word so that our other military families, our other consumers aren't going to get ripped off, right? They're not going to be taken advantage of because let's face it, if one of these companies is doing it, they're all doing it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and if there's a company out there that is legitimate that you're like, hey, I know they're not doing this, let me know. Let's get that information out there too. Like, hey, this lender or this private loan company or this, car dealership or whatever, they're no nonsense. What they say, their word is good. What they say is actually accurate. And it's not this yo-yo transaction, this bait and switch where it's like, oh, I didn't put it in writing, so everything I told you orally is completely worthless, which is what we're going to talk about on the other half of the show. Yeah. That experience is what I just experienced in a car buying. So I really am passionate about the topic because, as we're going to get into, Military Lending Act prohibits certain types of usurious interest rates. When I say usurious, predatory interest rates. You can't just charge somebody whatever they want. Mm-hmm. Service Member Civil Relief Act, also a common service member spouse and dependent act. That's going to provide even stricter restrictions if somebody's called and on deployment or something. Military Lending Act, specific interest rates, no mandatory binding arbitration, no required allotment. So we'll get into that. And other protections that would essentially allow a military family to get out of this contract, this agreement. They get statutory damages, potential punitive damages. If we're successful, the company may have to pay our attorney's fees and costs, right? Those are all benefits to our military families in filing a Military Lending Act claim.
Absolutely. And